I wanted to contrast what we just talked about Canadian oil with how the United States is actually doing under Donald Trump's leadership. Because I don't know if you heard this, but the United States trade deficit has fallen to the lowest since 2009.
Let's talk a little bit real quick about something that I find interesting. How do you control a country? How do you control people, right?
Recently, a Canadian doctor approved assisted death for a 26-year-old man with depression.
The whole Venezuela thing, for me, right now, is the most America first thing ever. All right, and I'll explain a little bit why. Welcome to the Right Call Podcast, everyone. Episode 104 today, a voice of reason in a chaotic world. And God, is it chaotic? God, it's been a week. It's been crazy. And speaking of chaos, it's a snowstorm outside right now. I don't know if you can see, it's wild. Yes. But yes, so my name is Elliot Dagno, and I'm here joined by our co-host, Simmer.
Yes.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Elliot. How are you doing?
Well, I'm in the snowstorm, and I'd rather be on the beach.
Do you have an all-wheel drive car to get through all this?
Today I do. I'm driving a Jeep Wrangler, the Black Wang.
Good.
4x4, baby.
Yes, sir.
You know, those cars, by the way, you're not supposed to be on a 4x4 on the highway. You have a speed limit that the transfer case in the middle can handle. People don't know that because it's a lock transfer case. It's a lock case. It's a 4x4 locked 50-50 split. It's not an all-wheel drive. It's a different thing.
Yes.
Like you drive an Escalade, right?
Yes.
But is it an automatic all-wheel drive?
There are two functions. You can put the 4x4. You can put the two-wheel drive.
Okay.
And so you can alternate.
Two-wheel drive and you're sliding all over?
Automatic, I think, is all-wheel drive. It's like more the standard all-wheel drive. That's how it feels like. And then the 4x4, you feel the difference. It's kind of wild.
I should not say that, but I also drive a Benz. It's 4MATIC. It's great.
Yes.
Except I'm on summer tires. And I've been on summer tires since the start of winter. Haven't had an issue, just saying. Or maybe I'm going to end up on TikTok in one of those videos like the 18-wheelers driven by our friendly neighbors in India that have never seen a winter.
No. They're not trained to drive in these environments.
Oh my God, not. But anyways, so real quick Patreon shout out to Tim, Pierre, Patrick, Celine, Sylvie, Aaron, everyone. Welcome to the crew. We love you guys. Please consider subscribing. It's $8 a month or $29.99 or $7,000 or is it $9,000 if you really want to, if you work for CSIS or the CIA or Mossad, especially Mossad. We would appreciate the money because it helps us with all the costs relating to this. But aside from that, what have you got prepared for us today, sir?
Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about quick, the ICE shooting, things happening in Iran.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring the focus back to home for a little bit and talk a lot about Canada and what Canadians are going through because the start of 2026 has not been pretty for Canada. And
it has not.
And neither was the end of 2025. And I feel as though during the holidays, we can get a chance to really cover it in depth. And I feel as though there's a lot of stuff that Canadians need to know. And I've wrapped it all up and put in a pretty bow and I'm ready to go.
Ooh,
what about you, Elliot?
Well, it's going to be a lot of international stuff because a lot has happened. So I've had plenty of people reach out to me saying, cover Iran, cover Iran, cover Iran. And I was like, to be honest, guys, the more you tell me to cover something, the less I want to cover it because we cover things that, to us are important. But guess what? It is important. And we will cover the crazy revolution that's happening, maybe the start of of a regime change, of a collapse over there. What else? We also have Cuck Keir Starmer wants to ban X in the EU or in the UK and has been kind of going around trying to gather a bunch of a little posse to support him, right? He's like one of those little losers in school. And it's like instead of like standing up by himself to the bully, so he says, not really the bully, he's looking to enlist a bunch of people to support him in the endeavor. So he reached out to Canada and Australia trying to get their approval.
He's so pathetic.
I hate that guy. I can't stand that guy. He's everything. He reminds me a lot of Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
They both look the same and they have this like air of arrogance and elitism in their face and they're so disconnected from the reality on the ground.
And he just gives off weak male energy.
Oh yeah. Like
he's not a leader. He's not a
no. You know when you go in a hotel room, there's always a cuck chair. You know what I'm talking about? right? Right. So I have a very, very strong hunch that, this is his favorite part of any hotel room.
Yeah, it's his favorite place to sit.
It's his favorite. For sure. For sure. So I'm just saying. And then, of course, Venezuela. I have a theory, and it's not just my theory. A lot of people in my entourage have been working and enabling these ideas of why what happened in Venezuela happened in Venezuela. So it's something that I want to dive a little bit into. There's the ICE shooting, the tragedy, but at the same time, I mean, let's look a little bit deeper. I have her rap sheet, by the way. She was not a sweet little mother of three who no. We're going to look into that. And lastly, we're just going to also touch, and we're going to start with that actually closer to home in Canada, the federal gun buyback program, which is an absolute hilarious failure so far. So that's about it, guys.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Okay. So,
Iran.
No, boom. No, let's talk about the gun buyback real quick,
Okay.
close to home, then we'll go abroad. Have you seen the hilarious outcome of the gun buyback in Cape Breton?
I haven't.
No? Okay, so you have to understand a little bit the backstory. And I got to thank the National Post, by the way, for highlighting this. I really like them, personally. And we were talking about it before.
Yeah, I love the National Post. I really discovered the National Post during critical times in Canadian politics. For example, the COVID lockdowns, all the financial information they shared about that, the Freedom Convoy, the era of that time. National Post was there sharing the tough facts on a professional platform that makes it very hard to refute. And I really respect the work that they do. Just
Absolutely.
as a patriotic Canadian, I love the work they do. So
for sure. No, out of all the big media names in Canada, they actually dare cover the kind of stuff and issues that other medias don't.
No.
So, or I should say strategically omit to cover, right? So the punchy stuff, But anyway, so since Trudeau came into office, the Liberals have been hell-bent on hurting 20% of the Canadian population, namely gun owners. Lawful gun owners, I should say. They banned in secret overnight or through overnight orders thousands of previously legal firearms for no reason other than disarming law-abiding civilian population. And I'm one of them. Okay, I got to see that. Well, their goal was to buy back these now banned guns. And in typical, and you're going to love this because you're someone who hates government waste, in typical Liberal government screw up, as usual, they had estimated an initial cost of $200 million to create the program, administer the program, and compensate the gun owners for their now banned property, right? Well, it's now ballooned. The estimate, has ballooned over the last 5 years.
of course it has.
Do you have a rough ballpark idea?
Oh, it has to be double the initial forecast, at least.
If it's 200 million, so you say 400 million.
Yes.
Well, it has now ballooned to an estimated $2 billion and counting. 2 billion. It's 10 times.
Wow.
Now, mind you, on top of that, it's been 5 years since they've been talking about this program. And last month, they finally launched a pilot program in Cape Breton because they're not going to do it nationwide right away. And supposedly it's a volunteer kind of surrender of your firearms for compensation. It's not mandatory, at least for now. So you bring in your guns, you get pennies on the dollars for them, and you make a Liberal happy. Well, guess how many guns were collected in over a month?
I don't even want to hear it.
You
Tell
don't
me.
wanna hear it. A whooping. I was thinking of a whopper. A whopping 25 guns. And by the way, not 25 people. 25 guns from a total of 16 people.
You really want to trigger me today.
Yeah, you're going to get triggered. This is effectively a cost right now, okay? And they've tabulated. It makes a cost of $26,535 per gun collected. How fucking ridiculous is that?
Wait, what? They spent $2 billion to collect how many guns? 25 guns?
So the program is now estimated to be $2 billion, right?
Okay.
But they launched a pilot project before rolling it out to the rest of Canada.
Okay.
And that's where they collected 25 guns. And those 25 guns accounted, or like the total, the tally of the cost to administer, to roll that out, the police that had to do the work, the money that was paid to the citizens was $26,535 per gun, effectively.
Jesus.
Anyways, so
talk about inefficient bureaucracy.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. But, If you want to get these striking news daily in your inbox, the National Post, oh my God, let me say that again. The National Post has this free newsletter that I personally use in order to get all this information. I mean, we build these podcasts, we build these information, like we need to get that stuff fed to us. So that's what I look for to stay up to date. And to be honest with you, it's free to sign up. I'll put a link in my bio. And it makes it easier for all of you guys. So kind of wild to start the show in Canada like that. Anyways, so do you want to stay in Canada or do you want to go to Iran right away?
Yes, because if you're going to talk about an inefficient bureaucracy and think I'm not going to get triggered and go off on my Carney rant,
do it.
You don't know me.
Get into it.
Oof. Canada, what a disaster the start of 2026 and the end of 2025 has been. So let's talk about our amazing prime minister. Still no free trade across provinces. One of his key promises already failed. And that's something very simple to administer. So we're already starting with a key promise not delivered yet. After several months in office. Every Trudeau anti-resource law remains. No new pipelines approved. Not one foreign country has cut a single tariff on Canada. The deficit has doubled. Grocery prices are rising 2.5 times faster than in the US. Okay.
Damn.
And, last week we talked a little bit about Venezuela. Venezuela being liberated of socialist garbage.
Yeah.
And it created a whole new opportunity for that country to a point where their stock market rallied 100% since Maduro got removed.
Isn't that wild?
It's completely insane. And how does this relate to Canada? Well, the United States, our main trading partner, now has a new source of oil. Because I believe Donald Trump announced that, 30 million barrels of oil per day or something
30 to 50 million.
Per day.
Yeah.
Of oil will be going to the United States.
The gas prices are about to come down, baby.
Yes, sir. 30 to 50 million barrels of oil. And so what does that mean for Canada?
We're going to get screwed.
We are going to get decimated.
Absolutely.
And the Liberals had a decade to, put something together for oil. So I did all the segments on Canadian oil versus Venezuela oil.
Okay.
Because Carney went live and he said, Canada will still be competitive in dealing oil to the US because Mark Carney is calling Canadian oil low carbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that and fucking matters.
Because of carbon capture. Okay.
Ugh.
And then he pointed to the Alberta Memorandum of Understanding that he signed with Danielle Smith. And, he's floating the suggestion that maybe pipelines might happen at some point in the next, who knows, right? And it's all BS. Yeah. Okay. Because even the carbon capture, what he's saying about carbon capture, making the oil clean.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a fact. 70 to 80% of oil emissions happen when it's burned.
Yeah.
Not produced.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So carbon capture only really captures a small part of the
the production
carbon capture only captures a small part of the emissions. It really only reduces a very small part. It does nothing about tailpipe emissions. And so, no, it does not make oil low carbon. Sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, do you know even what carbon capture is? Most people don't even know what it is. It's just a process of capturing the certain carbon emissions that are produced during, right? And using it and fucking putting it back down or storing it elsewhere. It's this weird thing that really is absolutely useless. It does nothing of the stated objective, but it sounds good. And I'm pretty sure Brookfield is behind that technology, by the way. I'm not even kidding.
Well, the thing is, it does not make like you said, oil low carbon. It just makes it slightly less dirty than before. If it does anything, it makes it slightly less dirty than before, right? And so he's really exaggerating the whole carbon capture and how we have clean oil. It's all just a psyop, really.
Absolutely.
And so
psychological operations everywhere. Fuck.
And so they spent years demonizing oil. Now that they need any revenue, they're suggesting that they might change course, and it's just narrative laundering. That's what I call it.
Narrative laundering.
just
okay.
the BS that Mark Carney is spewing on, our oil will be competitive with Venezuelan oil because it's low carbon. It does not make logical business sense. And it's just there to satisfy the socialists,
Yeah.
to maybe potentially move into using and harvesting our oil at some point in the future when we could have been doing it for the past decade. And
I mean, ultimately, do they care? Does anyone in the market cares whether your fucking
especially
oil
not the
is
United
clean?
States.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
And, I wanted to contrast what we just talked about Canadian oil with how the United States is actually doing under Donald Trump's leadership. Okay. Because I don't know if you heard this, but the United States trade deficit has fallen to the lowest since 2009.
Yeah, I've seen that. And this is against, and to the point where even some of the pundits that are very anti-Trump had to admit on the air, live, that wait a second, those tariffs and those trade wars across the world are clearly working.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and I
sir.
mean, we called it. We knew that
Yes,
already.
Sir. And, by contrast, the U.S. economic productivity surged 4.9% in Q3 2025. Okay, and they're forecasting a GDP growth of over 5% for Q4 2025.
And this is from a developed, huge economy. Like, do you understand how hard it's like a Fortune 500 company compared to a startup, right? When you look at the crazy GDP growth of like emerging markets like Africa or whatever, you get these crazy numbers, right? Because it's like a young startup that is like catching the J curve of growth. But like the US is like Berkshire Hathaway or like IBM. You can't expect major growth. It's going to be steady, consistent, safe returns. And the U.S. is about to 5% in a quarter. That's insane.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so all the liberals who were, talking down on, Donald Trump's leadership have just been, and especially his economic leadership, including myself, because I was someone who criticized trade deficits. I'm someone who always criticized government deficits because I think countries should run balanced budgets, just like humans have to run balanced budgets. And I think companies need to grow, businesses need to grow so that our society can grow.
Yeah.
And so to see numbers like this is inspiring for me as a young entrepreneur, someone who wants to grow a family and do all these things. I see these numbers and I'm like, why the hell would I stay in Canada?
Let's give a round of applause to America. Well done, America.
So the U.S. trade deficit fell from $136 billion to $29 billion.
That's insane.
That's madness. That is results.
Yeah.
That's true concrete results. Now, look, the numbers might get revised. We know that governments tend to, sometimes jiggle with the numbers, whether it's liberal or conservative. I'm not going to just tout the Trump horn.
That's true.
The numbers might get revised at some point. However,
they're not going to grab them better.
They're not going to get revised by like 50 billion. It's a massive, massive change. Yeah. It's a massive, massive shift.
For sure. And
so you contrast that with Canada, Canada's unemployment rate rose by 0.3 to 6.8%, while the youth unemployment rate increased by 0.5% to 12.8%. Canada's unemployment rate reached 7.1% in August 2025, the highest since 2016.
Nice. I love being unemployed and broke.
So I ask you, Elliot, how is elbows up really going for the Liberals?
Well, I think they gave up on that a very long time ago. They gave up on that the moment they didn't get a deal, but now they're on to something else. Like we have to make strong relationships with other places in the world. That's the one thing, guys. No matter how much, and this is what annoys me, no matter how much we throw logic and results in their face, the liberal establishment is so good. They're like eels. They're like little slippery snakes. They're so good at repackaging, rebranding, and deflecting towards a new boogeyman, a new scary enemy that we must rally behind. They do that over and over and over again, nonstop. It's wild.
To prey on the ignorant, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because
the emotional.
You have to be borderline clueless on Canadian politics to have voted for the Liberal Party.
After 10 years, yes.
After 10 years, you have to be completely either completely devoid of logic in your mind or completely uninformed. To look at the political landscape, the economic landscape in this country, youth unemployment, 700,000 kids lining up at food banks, 8 out of 10 Canadians think they'll never be able to afford a home. Okay, these statistics are just disgusting. As a son of immigrants who came to this country with nothing, to have everything given to us by this country, and to see where this country is going for the youth.
Yeah.
Okay, did you know that a quarter of youth skip a meal because they cannot afford the cost of living? One out of four university students in Canada.
I'd believe that. Although a ramen diet is a rite of passage for any startup owner, but I mean, it sucks to see that, like, the youth, people in their late teens, early 20s, have food insecurity in this country.
I look at these numbers and I contrast that with the growth the United States is seeing, what Venezuela has recently seen.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, like, you have to have a head full of rocks to vote liberal, or to even think that the liberal narrative makes sense, and to think that, like, this is what's going to bring us forward as a country. You are lost.
Yeah, I know.
Let's continue.
It's wild. Now, kudos to Trump, and this is what real leadership looks like, big time. And we'll be able to talk about other things too. And by the way, guys, two things can coexist at the same time, okay? You can, for example, despise his, say, immigration policy, but it can also be true that his economic plan is absolutely fire. So, yeah, that was a segment. Just so I know before, because you mentioned Venezuela, and I thought it'd be interesting because it still ties to America, but keep going.
No, go ahead. No, I'm good for now.
Well, for me, staying back into America here, the whole Venezuela thing for me right now is the most America first thing ever. All right. And I'll explain a little bit why. See, Venezuela is the largest proven oil reserve in the entire earth, in the entire world. We know that, right? 303 billion barrels worth of oil reserve. And that's valued at roughly, in today's price, $17 trillion in current market value. $17 trillion in the ground. That's insane. Now, here's the part that you're not being told, I'm not being told, nobody's being told. The U.S. really doesn't need the oil. I mean, obviously, they could use more oil, but they don't need the oil. At least, definitely not as much as their adversaries need the oil. Although Biden did drain the National Strategic Reserve. You remember that?
Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
Petroleum Reserve, which is supposed to be used for wartime or for, like, natural disaster.
And Biden, the liberal president, used it to artificially lower gas prices in the United States.
Before the midterms.
Yes, because the constituents were pissed off about gas prices.
Right before the midterms, in order to appease the favor, he literally depleted. It went from like 99% full down to like 12%.
Jesus.
It was the lowest in like almost all time outside of war. Insane. Now Trump obviously has brought it back up, but still. All right. So now China needs the oil, however, big time. Okay. Like China needs that oil. They buy 60 to 90% of all Venezuela crude export. They were the largest.
Wow.
Yeah. People don't talk about that. Okay. And I know you're going to start making connections in your head very quickly about how this plays in geopolitical realms. Okay. Now, all this oil is not going to China anymore. And that's also why America, the US, has been attacking all these shadow tankers. I don't know if you've seen, but there's like these shadow fleets. So basically, with no transponders, they don't like file path of like navigational plans or anything. They're literally operating in the shadows, trying to smuggle oil in and out. And that oil is to skirt international regulations and embargoes, right? Because like Russia has embargoes, China has embargoes on them put by the US. So these are like, so anyways, the US is kind of like lending helicopters on it and like seizing them. They're still trying to this day. All right. Now, what else has been also destabilized this weekend? Iran, Persia. China buys 85% of all the oil that Iran produces.
Wow.
And Iran's a huge oil producer as well. Not as big as Venezuela, but it's one of the top, definitely 10 in the world. I think they're actually 5 or 6th. Okay, huge. Now, if Iran and Venezuela fall at the same time, China to themselves loses 70% of its non-US regulated oil supply. You lose 70% of your oil supply. Guess what else you can't do all of a sudden? Well, you can't go into Taiwan. You can't have AI dominance. There's no BRICS reserve currency anymore. Absolutely, this entire thing in Venezuela was about the oil, but it wasn't the oil for the U.S. That's why it mattered so much. It was one of the most strategic chess move ever. Trump single-handedly declawed the giant glass tiger now. But wait, there's more, because I'm going to push you even further. Trump is actually by far winning the geopolitical game here. If the US starts overproducing oil now because of Venezuela, that lowers gas prices across the world.
Yes,
and guess
sir.
who is affected a lot by that? Russia, because Russia is an energy exporter. And this means now that they definitely are going to have a harder time financing their crazily expensive war effort in Ukraine.
Wow.
Now, other countries such as Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries are obviously very heavily dependent on oil. And you know that they like to tug the cords of geopolitical games left and right. They're not as strategic or as influential as China or Russia, but you know they like to kind of meddle in shit, right?
Mhm.
Even Qatar and
Mhm.
well, now guess who loses all that geopolitical influence if the gas prices go down, the oil prices go down? The US won't really care. Actually, the US will rejoice because they're a manufacturing fucking powerhouse. So lower energy price is better for their products.
Yes, sir.
And now Iran, of
And
course.
sorry,
Yes.
to add,
Uh-huh.
the US provides a lot of services, and a lot of those services require oil prices to be low. And so, for example, all the shipping within the country, when oil prices go down in a country, okay, it lowers the price of everything.
Yep. All the
It
goods
lowers
and
all the
everything.
transportation costs come down
Especially a
drastically.
big country
Production
like the
costs,
US.
yes,
Mhm.
and the US benefits tremendously.
So Iran will be also hit the hardest because given all the sanctions and now the upcoming low oil price, the Iranian government might very well topple. And it would mean that now Israel and the Middle East will have no major enemies left. And all of the Iran proxy groups, right? Hezbollah and Hamas and all that shit, well, will absolutely fade in obscurity. And now the last stage in all this is if the US manages to take control of Greenland and start exploiting its resources, which we know they have plenty, using like a cost push strategy, now China's position as a manufacturing powerhouse would collapse. So this could truly create absolute world dominance of the US. And it's all happening behind the scenes. We're being told it's for the dictator Maduro because it's much easier to swallow that this person is a vile, and it's true, two things can coexist. Maduro can be a horrible dictator that, enslaves its people and kills its people, but I don't think the US gives a fuck about that. The US is in a freaking cold war right now that's starting to become almost warm with China. So this is interesting. Now, I'm going to also...
It's a great strategic plan. Great segment. Thank you. That was really interesting.
And what I'll do to tie it all up, because I do have to do this, is a really good friend of mine wrote an amazing essay on it today on X. I was not planning on putting this. This is a brand new addition to the segment. I just want to read it to give him the credit. His name is Jason James from The Brave New Normal. Love that guy. And can't wait to come over for dinner when I'm in Calgary, buddy. But he wrote this essay. He's such a good writer. And I'm going to read it. Okay, if you allow me, Jason, okay, credit to you. He wrote the following: the removal of Maduro in Venezuela and the uprising in Iran is about regime change. It is 100% US-led and has a lot to do with resources. And as always, it's ugly. But what we are witnessing is bigger than democracy, or whatever other term they want to use as justification for CIA-sponsored coups and military interventions. This is an escalation of a Cold War between two empires, China and America. And America is moving to decapitate China. Both Venezuela and Iran's economy are very closely connected to China. By removing Maduro, locking down the Panama Canal, and fomenting dissent in Iran, the United States is cutting China off from vital resources. Resources China will need to mobilize against Taiwan, Japan, and eventually the United States. China is sprinting towards the finish line of global dominance. If you want proof of this, look at Australia, Canada, and the EU. Most believe that these identical censorship laws and digital ID infrastructures being introduced in these countries are the product of some World Economic Forum's secret elitist cabal. And they are. But if you look to who is funding and influencing these groups, you find China. This is why the new world that's emerging around us is a mirror image of the systems that are already operational in China. The US is purging China from Latin America and the Middle East. Next, they will take Greenland to cut off critical Arctic passages. Then they will move and come for Canada. The US is not a perfect empire. Much of what Latin America is today is the product of US-led coups in the 1970s and 80s. But the world will have hegemon, whether we like it or not. And we only have two current options, China or the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We should all want America to win, no matter how ugly it may be at times, because a world ruled by America is far more free than a world ruled by China.
Yes, sir. Excellent piece.
And to end on Venezuela, and this is just one tiny, it's not about all this, but I have people that I know in Venezuela, and I received a text message from someone on the ground. As a matter of fact, when the attacks happened, it was like 1 a.m. in Canada. I got a message within like 2 minutes saying, it's happening. I was like, what's happening? They're attacking. So, and this person said the following, because did you see in Congress, they passed a resolution in the Senate to rein in, to like castrate Trump's power in Venezuela, basically. He can't really do any new military operations there. So this person said, what do you think about the votes in Congress against Trump and Venezuela's intervention? I hope they don't fuck this, because yesterday everyone had a bit of hope due to the pressure the US was putting.
Mm-hmm.
It annoys me a lot, the liberals abroad protesting for stuff they have no idea about.
Mm-hmm.
And a stupid Spanish socialist that always sends me shit without knowing how it is to truly live under a socialist regime.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the sentiment of people on the ground in Venezuela.
Of millions of Venezuelans.
On top of that. So the people that, like all the, again, latte liberals here, they're like, oh, Maduro. And they have no
They
fucking
don't get
clue.
it. And dude, I've seen Venezuelans like fight with those liberal protesters. Like, who the hell do you think you are? You don't know. You've never lived in this country. You don't know what a tyrant he was. You don't know what it is to lose weight. And like we talked about it last week, so we don't have to rehash it. But the
Go right ahead,
Venezuelans
sir.
are rejoicing. Let's talk about Iran.
Woo! Persia is rising, baby. Persia is rising.
So what do you, I've been seeing crazy clips of, I mean, I'd love for you to get into it. I know you prepared a piece on it, but just from my perspective, I've seen some crazy clips of, the Islamic regime of Iran just, shooting at its protesters, calling them, enemies of God. And
It's messed up. It is.
Yeah.
And what's even more messed up, we'll start by like what we could almost like characterize as the end of this entire segment, is the silence. The silence from a left that was so vehemently protesting for Gaza.
Yep.
And now you have a similar, if not bigger, massacre happening right now. And a massacre against free speech, against women's rights, against freedom.
Yep.
And it's silent. Why do you think that is?
Well, because first of all, it's against their interests to even talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's against their interests because they've been promoting this whole I heard people saying I'm on the side of Iran when the Gaza, when they were attacking Israel.
Yeah.
And I was like, you support Iran? Do you even know what it's like to live in Iran? Like, once again, latte liberals don't understand.
The reason why I think they're being quiet is because to speak against it would be to speak against everything they stand for, because Iran is effectively a theocracy, a Muslim theocracy that controls every aspect of the economy.
Yes.
So it is a communist/socialist-like.
I would say it's a fascist.
But it follows everything that they believe in to a T, and it has failed and is failing miserably. So to speak up against it would be to speak up against what they fundamentally believe in.
And this is not the first time I've met, just growing up, I've had friends from Iran say, we are like completely against religion. And not just one person. I've met many, many Iranians just growing up in Montreal in my life that they're just against the religion entirely. Why? Because of the way they practice politicized Sharia in Iran. I have nothing against a religion, but when you take a religion and you make a political dogma out of it and try to assert that dogma over other people, over kuffars, over non-Muslims, and then you tell them they have to pay you jizya, they have to pay you a tax for not being Muslim, for protection money. These are against democratic free establishment norms that brought us the technology, the quality of life that we have today.
For sure.
All that innovation, all that quality of life, the life expectancy going up in every major democracy, and even in other Muslim countries that are, for example, like the UAE, doesn't promote like
Yeah, they're not a theocracy that way.
They're not a theocracy, exactly. No. That's the right way to say it. And so.
Yeah, no, and I love the Persians. I fucking love the Persians. One of my first ever employee actually was from Tehran. He was born there. He immigrated to Canada very young. And the stories he was telling me, like he was in school as a young boy, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. And every day, the class would start with death to Israel, death to America, Jesus. Like they would have to scream that to the point where their first day ever in school in Canada as young boys, him and his a little bit older brother, their parents had to take them aside and say, look, boys, here things are a little bit different. There's certain things you don't want to say. And the kids, didn't understand. They're like, but why? Why? Isn't Israel bad? Isn't America bad? They're like, well, no, they're not. It's fucked up. It's such a fucked up regime. But I love the Persians. They tend to be very pro-freedom. They're very industrious, hard workers. Hamid, who, again, my first ever employee, him and I have done great things together. It's a guy that I respect highly. And what's crazy, too, is that before the Islamic Revolution in the 70s, you look at Iran, and it was like liberal. It was liberal, not like in socialist policies, but it was free. It was an open society. It was very westernized. And now today you see, and it's completely different. But ultimately, what's happening, right?
Yes.
So the issues in Iran right now stems from decades of economic mismanagement under the Islamic Republic, exacerbated by U.S. sanctions, corruption, and the regime's prioritization of funding proxy militias abroad over domestic needs. Hyperinflation is currently exceeding 40%. A collapsed rial, which is their currency, which has seen price surge over 70%. And widespread poverty has fueled public rage, echoing, ironically, the 1979 Islamic Revolution that targeted, at the time, the Shah or the king of Iran. So these initially sparked in little like pockets in Tehran and provinces like Fars and Hamadan, but it quickly evolved into calls to return or further return of the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi and the restoration of the constitutional monarchy. It's almost like a cycle. They've tried the whole mullah fucking crazy theocratic Islamic republic bullshit, and republic in quotation mark, by the way. Now they're like, fuck it, we need the prince back, or not the prince, but the king back, the Shah, effectively. So as of January 12th, 2026, the uprising has entered its 16th straight day, spreading to over 100 cities, involving millions of demonstrators. Now, the problem is that those protests have shut down schools, universities, markets, and even the stock exchange in some area, and obviously a state of emergency has been declared. However, the state, the status quo, the government, the people in power are not just sitting idle. Far from it. They have began shooting indiscriminately directly into crowds of protesters. Military and Revolutionary Guards have been slaughtering protesters. The official numbers right now, as of today, is 538 protesters, which is huge. However, real estimates are in the thousands, like several thousands. There's also been arrests. Right now, over 3,000 people have been detained. And most importantly, and this is what's crazy, there's a digital blackout. There's a full internet shutdown right now, which has been lasting now for over 4 days. So absolute over like million, like it's a country of what? Like how many million people live in Iran? I'm not even sure.
I could tell you.
But now all of a sudden they don't have access to internet because they want to prevent, obviously, people from coordinating. And
over 90 million people.
Over 90 million people, yeah. So now what's at stake here is obviously the, survival of the regime. And good boy, good man, good guy, Elon Musk says that he was going to deploy Starlink in the region. to allow people to get back into
Yes, sir.
Dude, Elon is saving the West like unilaterally. Imagine what was going on with X at the time, and this is gonna lead to X after, but like
Yes.
with how they were banning people. Trump got banned. Every conservative voice was getting banned off all social media platform during the reign of terror, effectively, of social media leftists.
Yeah.
Elon bought it and restored free speech. Now they're trying to cut access to those platforms. So what does he do? He creates a fucking company that launches thousands of satellites in the air that allows people to connect to the internet from anywhere in the world.
Free market capitalism, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Elon's insane. But speaking of X, Cuck. What's his name again?
Starmer.
Keir Starmer. I can't even pronounce it. His name is so weird. It annoys me. Yeah, his face too.
I just can't stand his attitude, the way he talks, the way he communicates, and he's like he talks like, oh my god, I know better than you. I have to protect you from yourself. I can't stand his demeanor.
I think he's a that's just my take. But anyways, yeah. So effectively, the UK wants to ban X. They're doing it under the auspice that X being integrated with Grok AI, of course. Grok can be used to create deep fake images that are explicit, which is hilarious, by the way, because you had this this EU politician, obviously calling EU politicians are the worst kind of vermin of this world, calling for banning of X and censorship on X, and someone posted her picture. She's like this old lady, and then said, Grok, put her in a bikini. Anyways, but all that to say that they're using obviously they're not going to say, oh, we're going to ban speech. They're going to say it's because we need to prevent people from being victims to deep fakes. But then the irony is that you go to Gemini, you go to ChatGPT, you go to DeepSeek, and you ask the same prompt about like deep fakes, like creating nudes or putting people in compromising positions, and you still get outputs. You still get the same kind of results you get on Grok, but they're only targeting Grok. And they're targeting Grok because it's connected to X.
Yes, a free speech platform. Hey, you know what I got today for the first time? Not today, sorry, this weekend. It was the first time I received the you cannot share news in Canada on social media thing.
For what?
I tried to share the U.S. trade deficit shrinking. It was a USA Today article. And I tried to send it to, I think it was you, I think.
Probably me.
I was trying to send it to somebody, and it just said news content cannot be shared on this. You could send it in DMs.
Okay, yeah.
You cannot post it.
No, you can post it.
It's insane.
Welcome to Canada. It's been like that for a while.
It hit me.
Yeah, it's wild, eh?
Yeah, it rattled me. And it said because of Canadian federal regulation.
Absolutely. Elon, though, is playing like 10D chess, because while you have the UK trying to ban it for supposed deep fakes, you have France is trying to ban X as well. Why is it all like... Let me just say this openly, right? No one that promotes censorship is ever on the right side of history. There hasn't been a single government or movement in this world that promotes free speech, that condemns free speech and that wants censorship that is the good guy. They're never the good guy.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you tell yourself, well, we're doing it to protect people, you're banning people's speech. But anyway, so...
And weak people tolerate it and accept it and think that it's positive for society. People that don't have the spine, the guts to be able to handle somebody else's words. You know, criticism, whether it's positive or negative or accurate or inaccurate, is one of the most powerful tools to shape you in life.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Even if someone's wrong in criticizing you, you being able to understand the criticism, understand why it's right, why it's wrong, not take it personally, keep your composure, and, you know...
I completely agree.
And to have the government, who can't even handle a budget, can't even handle, you know, basic responsibilities, to have them have the power and the authority to try to censor me criticizing them or you criticizing them or anybody.
They're just so weak.
It's just pathetic.
So weak.
It's pathetic behavior tolerated by pathetic people.
So France wants to ban X. Why? Because France, and this is fucked up, classified X as an organized gang. I swear to fucking God. the same legal designation they use for drug cartels and mafia, so that they could wiretap their employees' phone and demand algorithm access. What they're not happy is they keep saying that Elon is controlling the algorithm and pushing propaganda and content that sows dissent in French, aka a threat to the regime in power. The people in power, they're not happy with criticism and with people exposing their corruption. Yeah, it's so messed up. So you know what Elon did? Fuck, I love it. He said, you want the algorithm? Here's the algorithm. Everyone gets it. In 4 days, X is open sourcing their fucking algorithm. The EU ain't gonna get it. Everyone's gonna get it. And now everyone's gonna see that you guys were just fucking trying to control the narrative. It was not the algorithm that was promoting things. The algorithm is pushing what people want to see. It's that your population is so fucking fed up with your bullshit corruption that they're promoting, pushing, and investigating in your shit. It's not that Elon is pushing right-wing propaganda. No. And you're all going to see this when the algo is going to go open source.
Amazing.
The EU is going to lose its fucking mind, man. I love it. Love to see it. Anyways, that's X for you. I'm so tiny on X. Are you on X?
A little bit, but I don't really use it that often. Maybe as we grow our channel, we might have a little presence there. But
Dude, I'm about to crack 100K on fucking Instagram, and I got like 1,000 followers on X. Guys, go on X. Follow me, please. No, but jokes aside, like it's so hard. And that's the thing. It's true now. Like the algo does give more prioritization to like huge accounts. Like I'll make like a nice little post. Again, like our videos. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, like gets thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of views, and on X it's like 80 views. Like, all right, I guess we suck. Anyways, go on, sir. Did you have?
Yes, we've been having a little fun for a couple minutes, but I wanted to take some time and talk about something that is a little more dark. And are you familiar with the medically assisted death program in Canada? MAID?
MAID, the
Yes.
Medically Aid in Dying program.
Yes.
I am sadly familiar because it's despicable.
Well, I really want to talk about this because recently a Canadian doctor approved assisted death for a 26-year-old man with depression.
Jesus. With depression, with a mental disease.
Something that is resolvable, something that has, I don't know, man. It just hit me a certain way that it leaves me at a loss of words, lost for words. And so let's just get into the little piece I prepared to, talk about this. Canadian mother says her 26-year-old son, Keanu Vafayan, died through medically assisted death after a doctor approved his request based on mental illness. She alleges his application had previously been denied and claims she opposed the decision, obviously.
Yeah.
According to her account, the approval occurred in British Columbia after, no surprise there, after earlier intervention in Ontario stopped a similar attempt.
Jeez.
The case has renewed debate over Canada's assisted dying framework and safeguards for mental health cases. So when I read this article, I thought to myself, doctors take an oath. Or historically, from my understanding, in the profession, they take an oath. I remembered it growing up as the Hippocratic Oath in Canada. And when I saw that, I wanted to just do a little thought experiment on whether this program violates that Hippocratic Oath. And so Canada's MAID program, when medicine stops healing and starts killing. The Hippocratic Oath is simple. Never intentionally harm or kill. Canada's MAID program breaks that principle in half. For 2,000 years, a doctor's job was to protect life, not end it. The original oath is explicit. I will give no deadly medicine to anyone if asked. There's no ambiguity. There's no ambiguity in that. no loopholes. But Canada didn't reinterpret the oath, it abandoned it. MAID is sold as compassion. In reality, it's a philosophical pivot from healing patients to eliminating suffering by eliminating the sufferer.
Yeah.
That is not medicine. It's a transaction, and the product is death. And here's the uncomfortable part no one wants to say out loud. Canada didn't just legalize MAID for the dying. It expanded it to the disabled, the chronically ill, and those suffering from non-terminal conditions. With psychological-only cases already legislated. When the state can't fix the system, it now offers an exit, legal suicide.
But it wasn't always like that. It wasn't. That's the issue. It was supposed to be for terminally ill people. The problem is that they've started expanding it. And now they do indeed include mental disease. It's fucked up.
So once a doctor becomes the mechanism of death, the moral boundary is gone. The profession shifts from guardian to executioner by request. And when death is framed as care, the system is admitting the truth that it has failed the people who fund it, the taxpayer, you. This isn't progress in our healthcare system as the foolish liberal and NDP politicians and voters frame it. It is a civilization quietly deciding that some lives are no longer worth the trouble. We live in a country where the healthcare system is in shambles. And apparently the solution is not to help the people, but just to delegate the issue to death.
It goes even further than that. A lot of individuals that are in precarious situations, so they're broke, they're on social assistance, welfare, whatever you want to call it, are considering offing themselves using medically assisted aid in dying because they feel like there's no exit strategy, there's no better tomorrow, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. They're also tired of being a drag on the system and feeling completely tossed aside. And on top of that, with the rising inflation, they're actually seeing just a slow withering away and in a world where they just cannot make ends meet. So I've seen a report, I've seen like interviews with individuals that were awaiting the whole mental health approval thing because, like, again, it used to only be for terminally ill individuals, and they were waiting for the change in law to allow mental disease cases to be approved. And then they were going to obviously ask for assisted suicide under the auspice of not being mentally fit anymore due to the fact that their living conditions were too bad. It's a society that has given up on its people. I think right now we're at over 17,000 people have died in a year, in a single year. 17,000 people die per year from medically assisted suicide.
By contrast, that's half of the people that died from COVID throughout.
Yeah, it's messed up.
The number.
It's messed up. And then, of course, you can like dive into like conspiracy theories and be like, oh, is it just because they want to harvest their organs? Or is it just because, their medical systems are just too costly, so it's easier to just fucking kill people than to, keep them alive? Or is it just because they're, ultimately we're trying to move towards, call it like AI dominance, and we don't want useless eaters to be part of society anymore? Look, there's so many ways you could cut this, and I'm not here to speculate on that today, at least. But I think there's more and bigger insidious forces at play than just poor people that want to kill themselves.
I just think it's an easy way out of incompetence, sheer incompetence. This government is incompetent. The bureaucracy is too big. They know they can't fix it. They know how expensive it is. They know they want to keep the bureaucrats going. And they know that they don't have the solutions to the problems. They're not willing to make the sacrifices to really solve the problems in this country, especially with healthcare.
Yeah.
And so this is just a valve for them. It's just a pressure valve. You go to the hospitals in Canada and find me one hospital in this country that is not an absolutely miserable place where there is barely any service for anybody.
Private hospitals. That's it. Private hospitals.
And I've actually had the experience of going to hospitals in other countries. I fractured my wrist in when I was celebrating my friend's wedding in Dubai. And I fractured my wrist while riding an ATV in the desert. And Good times.
That's a good experience.
Yeah. And I had a minor concussion and I fractured my wrist. I was taken to the hospital, and within an hour, I was in and out with a really good doctor who saw me, gave me a really comfortable cast.
Yeah.
Or, like, not the freaking clay or whatever, not the clay, the cement.
It's plaster.
Plaster, sorry.
Yes.
The plaster cast.
Mhm.
They gave me like this really state-of-the-art freaking cast.
But can you sign it? Can you get all your friends to sign the state-of-the-art cast? There's advantages to the plaster, okay? You get
I
to have
saw a
signs.
doctor within an hour.
Yeah.
I was prescribed medication within an hour, and like it was a perfect service. And then I also I hurt myself once when I went to what was it? To Bangkok. Okay. Just I hurt for my friend's wedding.
Too many ladyboys?
No. Celebrating once again, friend's wedding.
Yeah.
But anyways, I hurt my
I did not hear you say that celebrating your friend's wedding did not involve ladyboys, but just saying.
I deny that vehemently.
Uh-huh.
All right. Anyways, I fractured. I didn't fracture. I sprained my I sprained my ankle.
Yes.
And once again went to the hospital quick, just to make sure nothing was worse. Nothing was going to get worse. And once again, within 30 minutes, I see a doctor. I got an X-ray done. The doctor said, "Hey, you're fine. It's just a sprain. You'll be fine in a couple of days. Just relax. Maybe take some painkillers, and you'll be fine." But the
lady voice. You said quick. I was like, is that what the lady voice said? Anyways, sorry. I'm in that state of mind. Anyways.
All this to say, countries that we call poor, third world countries, or we say that, oh my God, we're victims of this healthcare system, and that's just how it is. That's just our healthcare system. It's a great system. It's free.
Yeah.
Come to find that third world countries have a far better healthcare system than our great first world country with a collapsing economy.
Well, it's just because, again, it's the gaslighting the government does. Right? They're going to keep saying that everything's great. Look over here, don't look over there. And people buy it because a lot of Canadians don't leave Canada. A lot of Canadians don't have a passport. Not as bad as the Americans. Blows my mind to this day how many Americans don't have a passport. But I mean, let's be honest. And to the Canadians that do travel, right? The people on the East Coast, it's let's go to Cuba. Let's go to Cuba for a week at the all-inclusive in Quebec, away. And then the people out west, they go down to Arizona to pretty much do the same, or maybe Mexico, the northern states of Mexico, and that's it. They don't really see the world. It's a shame. I know you've traveled, you've been all over the place, you've seen it with your own eyes. I have done likewise. Yeah, man. Canada's in a weird place. A place that's really weird though right now is also Minnesota, just saying. We do have to cover a little bit real quick the ICE shooting. I think, look, I'll say it outright, okay? Yes. I think it was a justified shooting. Sorry to Peanut Gallery, you guys are going to hate me for this. Knowing what I know, being, understanding the use of force continuum, a motor vehicle, a car, is considered a deadly weapon.
Yes.
Especially for intent of assault or to attack a police officer. Several states in the U.S. has also passed laws that allow people to use force to remove or to defend yourself from people that use motor vehicles to commit, acts of terror or crimes. The police officer was in front of the car. Now, you can say all you want that she was trying to avoid him, she was not driving fast, they wouldn't have killed him. Look, those are all speculation, hypotheticals. Here's the fact. She was in front of a car. She decided to speed off. Her wife, I thought it was her friend, her wife was saying, "Drive, baby, drive," so aiding and abetting. Police had given orders for her to stop and to get out of the car. She did this to herself. And now you can say, yeah, but she was a peaceful person. She was a mother of three. Don't care. Good people do stupid shit. You play a stupid game, you're going to win a stupid prize. You fuck around, you're going to find out. But by the way, she was not a good person. Now, mind you, you can be rehabilitated in life, but here's her rap sheet, because the internet finds things very quickly. She was arrested and charged in 2023 for domestic abuse and child endangerment. That's cool. Good person. By the way, this does not condone her being shot, by the way. Far from it. I'm just saying, stop with the whole narrative, because all the meters are saying mother of three, senseless killing. She was a ray of sunshine in the world. Come on, guys. Do a bit of due fucking diligence. 2023, she was also arrested for state probation violation. In 2023 again, she received a battery on a police officer. Look at that.
Really?
A recurring pattern of personality, perhaps. She also received a entering/remaining on real property. I think that's probably trespassing. It's a different name for it. In 2022, she also had another charge of battery on a police officer. Oh, definitely a recurring thing for her. And another entering and remaining on real property, so another probably trespassing. And in 2022, again, she had another battery on a police officer and entering and remaining on real property. So look, again, this does not justify anyone's death, far from it, but it shows, again, that
It's a repeat offender.
it's a repeat offender. It's a principle, because in the video you see her saying like, I don't hate you guys. I don't hate you guys. And now, okay, but you still tried to commit vehicular manslaughter on a fucking federal agent who returned fire. And this, by the way, is under case law. There has been several instances of police officers, from sheriffs to local PDs to federal agents, opening fire on a car that was coming at them. And every single time the judge, whether it's under state law or federal law, found that it was a justified use of force. So that was my thing on the ICE.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're going to go to a fucking protest, be peaceful. And if you're going to get arrested, by the way, even if you think you're being unlawfully arrested, maybe you're right. Put your hands behind your back. Don't resist arrest. Let the courts decide. By the way, if you get, especially in the US, in Canada, obviously we don't receive the same kind of compensation, but in the US, if you are actually being arrested unlawfully, congratulations, you've just won yourself a ticket to a shit ton of money. Shut your fucking mouth, put your arms behind your back, and eventually sue the state for it. That's it. You don't bring the courtroom in a high-octane, high-risk environment in front of police officers during a fucking protest. You don't do that. It's not the time to start debating the facts. These people don't get that.
I'm going to take it even further. I watched clips of it, and if you watch all the clips from all the angles, it is clear that the officer's life was in danger.
Absolutely.
Because the officer was in front of the car. You see him get knocked by the car. You see him fall. And aiding and abetting, you could say that, you know, their intent was not to kill him, but the results of her actions, the way she drove the car, the velocity she was going with knowing full well, because you look at the angle clip and you can see full well she's looking directly into the officer's body cam.
Yep.
Looking straight at the officer essentially and pushing on the gas pedal.
Yep.
Okay? There is no excuse for that. Like I cross the border very frequently for work. Okay? So when I import or export, I'm dealing with law enforcement constantly.
Yep.
Okay? With the border agents,
With
right?
CBP, with the same organization that ICE is part of.
You need to have a certain conduct around law enforcement. Okay? If you're a civilian, adult, okay, with any modicum of self-respect, an officer pulls you over, you don't just start bashing at the officer. You just put your windows down, put your hands on the wheel and say, "Hi, officer, how's your day going? How can I help you?"
Yeah.
Whether you get a $500 ticket, a $1,000 ticket, justified or unjustified, whether you're anything, just put your hands, show them that, hey, I'm not a threat. How can I help you? What's going on? There's a conduct that you have to have, that you would have with normal people, you would have with your friends. Hey, how's it going?
Sure. But let me ask you, right?
But all of a sudden, it's a cop, and you have the audacity to say, "Oh, fuck you! What up? What's up, bro? What you think you're gonna just fucking stop me, dude? Just shut up! Just shut up and say, 'Hi, officer. How can I help you?' And just show the basic modicum of respect. Deal with the system,
and you'll be fine.
and you'll be okay. And most of the time, they see you behave like that.
Yeah.
It lowers down their guards. They're not likely to feel at risk.
There you go. And again, even if you think you're being targeted, persecuted, it's unjust and unfair, you're not doing a fucking trial on the ground with the cop. It's not the point. There's going to be a judge. There's a legal system for that. You're going to go through the point. Look, I've interacted with police before, right? For various things. I've been in contact with police. I'm not saying I love police, to be quite honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of authority.
We're not there to love them.
I don't love them, but I've never had an issue. They've never treated me like shit. They've, to be honest with you, the times I've interacted with them, they seem to be more like aloof and nonchalant about whatever. But look, I've never had a fucking problem, and I've interacted with them many times. Now you're going to say it's because I'm a white man. Well, are you a white man?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
No.
Settled, guys.
No.
It's settled. I mean, we are what we say we are, right? What is a woman?
Identify as a white.
Someone identifies as a woman.
No.
So what is a woman?
I'm a brown guy. I used to wear a turban. I had a big beard.
Yeah.
I've dealt with law enforcement in everyone is dealt to an extent, whether it's a parking ticket or
Yeah.
or anything.
But like you said, you cross the border periodically, regularly. So you deal with law enforcement on the way in and on the way out.
Yes.
Have you ever had an interaction where your life was threatened or you thought was completely and utterly unjust?
No, because I didn't act like a complete buffoon around them.
There you go.
I'm not like, even if you're at a protest, even if they're protesting something justified,
Mm-hmm.
a cop pulls you over, you're not saying, like, drive off, fuck off. Like, oh yeah, we're feeling like there's a code of conduct. There's just like, hey officer, how can I help you? We're just here peacefully protesting. We're against what you guys are doing. We're not here to cause any trouble, but we're firmly against what you're doing.
Yep.
We think you're doing something wrong. That's a very different position from what the lady who got shot was doing. Okay. And I will say that I think that what happened was what the law states should have happened. That you put an officer's life, an officer of the law's life at risk, you are a threat to the state.
Well, and by the way, in many cases, even if it was not a federal agent, in most states, I'm not sure in Minnesota, but in most states, stand your ground laws dictate that you, as a private citizen, could have also used deadly force to stop the threat the same way the police officer did.
Dude, you know what shocks me? When you said that, it just made me think. If the officers didn't shoot, and if it was the ICE officer who died because a protester ran him over with a truck, with a minivan, the left would not say anything. They wouldn't care. They would actually celebrate. They're like, yeah, ICE.
I mean, they celebrated the death of a 31-year-old man. Yeah.
The hypocrisy around that is staggering, because Charlie Kirk was, whether you liked him or not, whether you think he was a horrible person who spewed right-wing content or not, he was a father of children, and by all stretches of the imagination was a law-abiding, kind citizen.
Absolutely.
Okay? He did nothing wrong. He actually didn't have a rap sheet.
Yeah. Yes.
He wasn't instigating fights with cops. He got shot just for sharing his voice. And the left celebrated that.
Fuck, they celebrate.
Okay?
They more than celebrate. They dance on his grave.
But someone who would have ran over an ICE agent, probably that ICE agent, we don't know that person's life. Maybe he's a father, maybe he's not.
He is a father. I don't know all the details, but I saw that he has 2 kids, I believe.
Okay, and so he had a life too.
Yep.
So that's what happens in the world. You F-A-F-O.
You FAFO, baby. FAFO. Let's talk a little bit real quick about something that I find interesting. How do you control a country? How do you control people, right? Well, I think I've compiled some little techniques here, and I want to do a thought experiment. Where can you see this being applied perhaps daily in your life, in your country, in your part of the world, and your day-to-day with our governments? So here's how you control an entire country. Step 1, control the narrative. A state media, perhaps control over social media platforms. You got to control the message that is being spread out. Here in Canada, we have CBC, for example, the propaganda arm of the Liberal Party. Then after that, you need to move to labeling dissent as misinformation. Or maybe conspiracy theory, or maybe just you character assassinate people. You assassinate their character whenever they say something you don't agree with. That goes against the narrative that you're trying to push. Then after that, you centralize information channels. So you make sure there's no alternative platforms or media. Only the state knows the truth and what's good for you, of course. Then you use selective enforcement. Certain people get more clement sentences than others for the same crime. For example, I don't know, migrants or left extreme terrorists or BLM or Antifa that are doing horrible things but get slaps on the wrist, but yet you were at the January 6th protest and you are thrown in a gulag for sedition, like 10-year federal sentence for sedition. Or, I don't know, you're a Gaza protester and you do death threats and you smash shops and you create ruckus and you firebomb things in the streets of Canada. But the mean truckers that were hunking downtown Ottawa, well, you get the War Measures Act enacted on you and you get arrested without a warrant, without due process. Your accounts get frozen. Your financial accounts get frozen. Yeah, okay.
And Chrystia Freeland also left, finally. Good riddance. I hate that woman.
Fuck her. But you know what? It's not such a good story, by the way. And we'll talk. We can touch real quick on that. But I mean, She has access behind the scenes of
Oh,
everything.
of course.
So it's actually even more insidious than anything. I'd rather she didn't, because then at least we could somewhat keep her publicly accountable, somewhat maybe. Anyways, then the next step is you normalize surveillance, right? In Canada, we're seeing this with Bill C8, C9, C12. In the UK, we see this with the CCTV, right? The CCTVs are everywhere. The government watches you at all times. In the US, the Patriot Act back in the days as well. It's just complete normalization of every step that you take is surveilled. And we're always told, well, if you have nothing to, if you don't do anything wrong, you got nothing to fear. If you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to fear. That is the tool, the slogan of tyrants. Because it's so, no, it's not that if I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to fear. It's you have no right to fucking know to begin with.
And it's none of your business.
There you go. Then you create dependency. This you're going to love. You crash the economy. You build up a welfare system. You subsidize people's survival, government control over education, healthcare, economy, especially in Canada. Economy, when you consider that a quarter now of people are employed by the public sector, they're bureaucrats. They're basically on the tit of the government. So you create dependency on every strata, every sphere of the government controls you somehow, some way. Then you exploit crises for everything that is way too tyrannical to implement or way too transformational to implement rapidly. Well, you make sure there's a crisis because that's a great cover to do so. So every time there's a tragedy, you use it to bypass your most insidious reform. You use it to pass your most insidious reforms. Then you encourage self-censorship by creating this kind of like shame. You make sure you encourage your peers to shame you. At first, it's the state that controls your words and they censor you and they deplatform you and they pretty much send you to the gulag. But the next logical step is you make sure that it's just the regular folks, the regular citizens, right? Remember during COVID? Oh, hey, my neighbor has one too many person in their home, right? That kind of stuff. Same thing under Nazi Germany, right? Denouncing your fellow countrymen harboring the undesirables in their homes. Well, same thing. You make sure to create this thing. Oh, you're a Nazi. You're a racist. You're a fascist for your ideas, Simmer. You should we hate you. Yeah. And then finally, moral framing. It's always for the collective good. It's always for your safety. It's always for your well-being. I mean, think of the children. Or what about the grandparents that are so vulnerable? Don't you want to take care of them? Well, that, my friend, is the Authoritarian playbook. Does it sound familiar in any way, shape, or form? Let me know. It's fucked up. It's happening around us, dude.
Yeah.
It fucking is. On that note, we're an hour and 15 or so. Did you have something else you wanted to cover?
No, I always have something to cover, but I think we really delivered a strong episode with a lot of different angles.
You know what? Let's shoot the shit just a few minutes here and say that we were talking prior to going on the air about maybe even diversifying a little bit the content, getting involved on the ground, right? Maybe doing some interviews, some debates.
Yeah, we'll take the Charlie Kirk approach. Go to far left socialist
we
campuses.
Got plenty around here,
and just
shit
on
the
libs, bro.
It would be really fun because I know you have an economic background. It'd be fun
sir.
to go from JMSB, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be cool to go to your alma mater and actually see what the younger generation thinks of socialism and shit.
Yes. That sounds really interesting.
That'd be fun. Another thing too that I think would be kind of cool to do, aside from like on the ground debates and whatnot, but it would be to do like investigative journalism. A little bit a la Nick Shirley. There's so much corruption in Canada, so many things that the CBC fails to cover on purpose. And you know what? The things you can do with a phone camera and like a microphone, like one thing I'd love to look into is actually the fraud going on reserves, because they receive billions, like tens of billions of dollars. I think it's 50 billions in the budget. Like it's insane the amount of money that the federal government sends to reserves across the country. And yet the life quality of Native and Aboriginals in Canada is dwindling. It's crumbling. So there's like a massive disconnect. We're sending more money than ever, but the people are clearly not seeing the money. So who's pocketing it?
Interesting.
Anyways, so would it be something you're down to do? Yeah.
Definitely sit down and plan it all out and deliver something cool.
Awesome, guys. Please subscribe, share, like, send to your grandmother, and I don't know, mortgage it against your house for the future generation, the way we're doing it with the economy. But guys, we appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Be there next week. And make sure to give Simmer and myself a follow on our socials. It's there somewhere.
On the screen.
On the screen. Have a good one, guys.